What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We are here with yet another way too early 2025 fantasy football mock draft. I had so much fun with the first one. I figured why not do it again here in short succession. So let's run it back. Fantasy Pros again, 12-team full PPR mock. Second pick overall. The roster: one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. But let's kick it off, and you know the deal. If you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on X, Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Any questions, any concerns, we'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's kick it off. The first pick has been made. It is Jamar Chase, the number 1 scoring wide receiver in 2024. So look, it makes sense that he's going to be the top-ranked wide receiver heading into this season. Now, look, these next couple of picks here are going to be all the heavy hitters, so we can't really go wrong with whoever we choose. Bijan, Saquon Barkley. You guys know me. I prefer the running backs. I think that if we went wide receiver, I'd probably be looking at Justin Jefferson. But look, the last mock we did, we already went Justin Jefferson. So let's shake it up a little bit. Let's go with Saquon Barkley. I will say it's going to be tough to duplicate the type of success that he had last year. 1,000,000%. But we're going to go off confidence in what he can do and the situation. Good offense, good system, good offensive line. Good quarterback. So I think we'll be fine with Saquon Barkley. Now, will there be regression? Of course. It's going to be really tough when you're coming off, I want to say basically a historic season like he had. It's going to be tough to duplicate it the year following. So just, expect some regression. But let's move on. Let's take a look at the draft board. With the first 2-3 picks, not too much huge breakdowns to do. Let's kind of highlight the interesting things here. So JJ went 103, Bijan 104, no issues there. Malik Neighbors 105. Honestly, I really like Malik Neighbors this season, and he proved that he can get it done last year. If you ask me, the quarterback room in New York has gotten an upgrade. Now, is it going to be Dart at any point in the season? We'll see. I don't think the Giants have to rush it. They've got Russ. They've got Jameis. I think both of those guys are better quarterback situations for Malik Neighbors than what he had in 2024. So, yeah, I'm high on Malik Neighbors, then CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra. So the Lions teammates back-to-back. Nico Collins, 109. Maybe seems a little bit early, but, when he's healthy, he's a steady producer. Puka Nacua, A.J. Brown, Christian McCaffrey. So, here taking a chance on McCaffrey at the end of the first round. If you're taking a chance on McCaffrey, I think that you probably need to get another running back shortly thereafter because you might be in a position where McCaffrey's missing games. It wouldn't be the first time. Then Brian Thomas here at the 201. So, this individual doesn't necessarily take that advice. Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brock Bowers. I'd much rather go with the McBride almost a round later than go with Brock Bowers. Again, the idea of the fantasy football, at least draft process is not to buy high immediately after the guy that broke out is available. It's typically, finding the values, finding guys that fall, finding the guys that are in good situations, whether it's, following free agency moves, following NFL draft additions, whatever the case might be. A-Chain, I think A-Chain is a great value at the 205. Genty, tremendous value at the 206. So what happened here is basically there was a huge run on the wide receivers. I don't think that McCaffrey should be going before A-Chain and Genty. So, again, obviously, it's still very, very early. It's May. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Genty and A-Chain will be first rounders in, August and September, or will, I think at least one of them will be. And the only reason I say that is because so many people love the wide receiver position in full PPR scoring. Then Derrick Henry, 207, Tyreek, McConkey, T. Higgins at the 210. Okay, I see you, T. Higgins, after his breakout season. So let's see what we're working with here. As far as running backs go, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, JT. I'm really tempted by Garrett Wilson here. I think that, he's basically the main wide receiver left for the Jets. Justin Fields, sure, he's got his issues, but I think, in his last year in Chicago, he proved he could get it to DJ Moore. He can get it to Alpha. That's what I think that Garrett Wilson is. And, Garrett Wilson was having success before Devontae Adams showed up with the New York Jets. He proved that he can ball out. So I honestly, I just think he's a really good value at this point in time. So while I could go maybe like a Chase Brown and a Jonathan Taylor, I've already got Saquon Barkley. So let's add a wide receiver here, and I will go Garrett Wilson. Terry McLaurin does have Deebo Samuel now in Washington, so that is something to think about. Both Josh Jacobs and Chase Brown and Jonathan Taylor all available. So question is, which one of those guys do you want? I'm leaning more running back than I am wide receiver. I just think right now the upside of those guys is a little bit higher. Bucky Irving, I know he won the job, but I still think that, he's not the pure pass-catching running back over there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think I'm probably going to go either Chase Brown or Jonathan Taylor here. Jonathan Taylor had a tremendous end to the year. So let's go with JT in this situation. Who knows what will happen with the quarterback situation in Indianapolis. Chase Brown also very, very tempting, but I just want to diversify it a little bit. I mean, I took Chase Brown in the last way too early mock that we did. So for the sake of diversifying the names, the squads, and just to remind you guys of our team, Saquon, JT, Garrett Wilson. It's funny, this team last year, if you saw these three names, you'd be like, oh, dude, did you have 3 first-round selections? Maybe JT being the exception, but still. Looking at the draft board again, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen, Lamar. So those quarterbacks finally go. Kenneth Walker, Jaden Daniels, Mike Evans. There goes Chase Brown. I think that's a really good value. Rashee Rice, Cortland Sutton, Kyron Williams at the 401. Jesus Christ, that's some awesome value. George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson. So the upper echelon tight ends are gone, I would say, unless I'm forgetting a name. I guess Sam Laporta is there, but I'm not going to force that. Alvin Kamara, dude, I mean, the Saints are in a situation where quarterback is a huge question mark. No more cars, so I don't want to necessarily invest in that. Another year older, so I think they might be in a lot of games where, Alvin Kamara might be getting spelled, so it's something to think about. I think Jalen Hurts here is tempting. I mean, dude, Jalen Hurts with Saquon Barkley, that's a hell of a little combo that probably won you a lot of games if you had that stack last season. So I guess you're going to guarantee yourself here you get the rushing touchdowns in Philly. So, all right, you know what? Screw it. Let's go with a little Jalen Hurts. He might get selected here in the next pick. I know we only have to wait 2 picks, but there's a chance. So all right, let's scoop him up here. Let's just have some fun with this. We're gonna do some more. We're gonna do some more dissecting. We're gonna do some more big brain analysis further down. The fantasy football season. Now we're just having a little bit of fun with it, getting some guys that we like early on that are decent values. Marvin Harrison got drafted. Really good value in my opinion. I think the values for Harrison and Neighbors are going to flip this year compared to what it was last year. Going to have to overpay for Neighbors, and Harrison's going to be kind of the steal, which again was pretty much flipped from what it was last year. Zay Flowers in Baltimore, I mean, he's the number one still there. I think he's probably the best wide receiver that we could take. Chuba Hubbard is kind of tempting. I'm not gonna lie. Um, you know, the Panthers they added some help in free agency with Rico. They added ETN via the draft, but I mean it's still Chuba Hubbard. However, I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. I want to get myself another wide receiver that that has that big game upside. So let's go with Zay Flowers, and then let's see what we are still working with and dissect the draft board yet again. So looking at it after we went Zay Flowers, then yeah, Kamara, Chuba, Xavier Worthy, Rome Odunze, who I think could have a little breakout season, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Joe Burrow, Olave, Pacheco, Stephon Diggs, new home in New England, Sam Laporta, there he goes, Baker, James Conner, Jalen Waddle. Oh man, I was really hoping, I missed out on RJ Harvey last draft. I was hoping I could sneak him into the roster this time around, but I miss out on him yet again. I think he's a guy that's only going to see his value go up more and more and more as we get closer to the start of the season. Evan Ingram, Monty, Travion Henderson, Jonnu, and Mark Andrews. So now let's remind you of our roster yet again. Jalen, Barkley, Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers. I mean, we could go into Aaron Jones for the Vikings. Mason is there, so I wouldn't be shocked if it becomes kind of a split backfield at some point. Jerry Jeudy in Cleveland, he was obviously the number one, had some huge games last season, potential breakout type of situation. George Pickens, the number 2 in Dallas now. Looking at some of these other names, tight end, I mean, we could go with the tight end. I'm looking at who would be Njoku, Kelsey. Yeah, I guess one of those guys. I really don't want to draft Kelsey. I feel like he's just cooked. I mean, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I think we've gotten to that point in time. Tyrone Tracy is a guy that I personally like. I think he's gonna be given the opportunity, right? Ahead of Scatterboot. I think Scatterboot's gonna be more the change of pace guy. And I prefer to go the younger talent ahead of an Aaron Jones. DeAndre Swift, I went with him last time around. Pittsburgh drafted a rookie rusher. So maybe we go Tyrone Tracy here. Jerry Jeudy or one of these wide receivers afterwards. So let's go Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, it's going to call it a reach. I'm all right with that. Aaron Jones did go afterwards. Jerry Jeudy, I feel like at this point is probably a good value. So let's scoop him up and, hope that it's not a one-year wonder type of situation. George Pickens is the number 2 on Dallas. I'm trying to go with upside for number 1 guys who have got a little bit of a clearer role on their respective offenses. So let's go Jerry Jeudy. Ooh, Calvin Ridley is still here for us in this next round. I'm cheating a little bit and seeing the suggestions that are popping up. I don't mind Calvin Ridley at this point in time. This guy's already got Trey McBride, so I can wait on tight end. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just wait on tight end again. Maybe get into the 9th round. Let's see what happened after we went with Jerry Jeudy, Jameson Williams, Tedero McMillan, Jordan Addison, Pickens, Bo Nix. Bo Nix in the 7th round, actually really good value. That rushing upside there. We'll see if he kind of comes back down to earth a little bit this year. Brendan Ayuk, Tony Pollard, it's 709. I think it's decent value. Mahomes, it's crazy. Like Patrick Mahomes used to be a 2nd round selection, 3rd round selection a couple of years ago. Now you see him in the 7th round. But I mean, you got burned if you drafted him last year. Yeah, there's no other way to say it. Tank Bigsby, Caleb Williams, potential high upside guy in Caleb. Javonte, DeAndre Swift, good value there. Jalen, Brian Robinson. I don't mind Brian Robinson as long as he can stay healthy. Khalil Shakir, Pearsall, Josh Downs, Caleb Johnson. For Pittsburgh, Juwan Jennings, Najee Harris. So let's look at the cheat sheet again. Yeah, I mean, this pick has got to be Calvin Ridley, in my opinion. Yeah, this has got to be Calvin Ridley. Let's scoop that up. Number 1 there with the quarterback upgrade. ETN and Charbonnet went. Okay, not bad. Honestly, I think Jacoby Myers here is a solid addition. Like, I know Brock Bowers emerged as the dude, but Jacoby Myers, as far as the wide receiver position for the Raiders, like, especially in full PPR, steady production. Steady production. Like, if you need to plug in a guy that's going to get you between 10 and 15 points, or let's call it 10 and 13 points every single week, Jacoby Myers has proved he can do that. So, really tempted to go Jacoby here and just continue to build up this bench. I'm probably going to lose out on Njoku and the other tight ends, but that's all right. I think we can make some magic happen. Let's see if that's the case or not. So yeah, I mean Jacoby, then Kyler Murray, Scataboot, Njoku, Kraft, Trey Harris, Travis Kelce. Yeah, I get it. Ramondre Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Rashad White, 9-11, Trey Benson, Austin Eckler, Dowdle, Jordan Mason, Algier, Tyler Warren, little rookie tight end action, Garendo, Jerome Ford, Blake Corum, Jared Goff, and Jalen Wright. So Jake Ferguson is still there. I don't think he's awful value. Like, he can stay healthy, then, decent. I will say having George Pickens there does kind of kill the Ferguson vibe a little bit. Goddard, I think he's just too low on the pecking order. Kincaid didn't really break out. I think we go probably with Jake Ferguson here. Let's look at these other names. Like Braylon Allen, pretty good season last year. Deebo Samuel, Jaden Reed, Pittman, Cooper Kupp. Like, Pittman should still be the number one in Indy, like, right? That's still the case. It's just a matter of, do you trust the passing attack in Indianapolis? Cooper Kupp, number 2 in Seattle. Darnell Mooney in Atlanta. Yeah, I think all right, let's go with Michael Pittman. I think Michael Pittman is a solid choice and could be a little bit more consistent depending on what happens with quarterback in Indianapolis. Otherwise, like Deebo Samuel, obviously, is a good choice. Deebo's still there. I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson here. Let's add him to the squad. And then I believe we have one final pick to make. So let's get some good value. Colston Loveland, high draft capital for the Bears, but I just think there's too many mouths to feed in Chicago. Like, if you go down the pecking order, Moore, Odunze, Kmet, you can argue if he's above Loveland or not. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Loveland, so I'm not going to go there. Rashid Shaheed could be a solid choice, but again, the quarterback situation in New Orleans, shaky at best. Quarterback, let's see if we like any guys here for potential breakouts or just any potential breakouts. Drake May, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence. Like, at this point in time, probably go with the high upside rushers. Not too many of those left, right? And we invested a pick in Jalen Hurts in the 4th round, so yeah, probably shouldn't be going with another quarterback. Running backs, I don't love anything that is available right now necessarily. So I think that I'm just going to stay put and go the wide receiver route. Shaheed, the number 2 in New Orleans, but could turn into a situation where can Olave stay healthy? Because if he can't, Shaheed's going to be some decent value. I think we could have hit the running back position a little bit more earlier on at some points in time. But look, I've got Barkley, I've got Taylor. We'll see what happens with Tracy. Hella pass catchers here. And we're going to add another one in Shaheed. So let's do that here. I'm curious to see the draft grade we will get. McMillan, with Evans and Godwin there and rookies added in the draft, I think McMillan, the little stretch he had, is probably gone. So let's go Shaheed and see the grade that we get. I'll be curious to see. We'll get, middle of the road, B grade. I tend to agree. I think the bench is definitely not diversified enough. Would have liked to swap one of those guys for a running back. Maybe we went with a quarterback a little bit too early. For reference, if you guys check out the first Way Too Early mock, I think that's probably a little bit of a better squad, but I still think we got some decent values. Like our first 4 or 5 picks, I think for the most part, like those selections. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree, disagree. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Again, give us a follow on Twitter, X at AllDayPigskin. Continue interacting with us there. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.